Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
Do not listen to this scary story at nighttime or right before you're going to bed. Because I love you so much, I'm giving you this warning because what the fuck? So typically I listen to a lot of Spanish scary stories because I like translating them for you guys. I typically listen to these when my husband's asleep next to me and I'm just like scrolling story through story, right? I will say when I listened to this story, I got full body chills, right? But I was like, okay, cool, I'm saving this. This is gonna be a good ass story, and I just kept going. A lot of the times you guys ask me in my comments like, how do you sleep after reading all these stories? And I'm gonna be honest, I sleep perfectly well. Like typically I'm not scared, and I wasn't scared last night, which is why it's so weird that I had a dream about this fucking story. I guess this story really impacted me more than I thought. So I'm gonna translate the story for you guys, and then I'm gonna tell you the dream that I had at the very end. So there was this girl, she was around 15 or 16 years old, and she lived with her mom. Unfortunately, her mom lost her job and they had no money, so they ended up losing their house as well. So one of the mom's family members tells them that they have a house that they can live in because they didn't want them to be homeless, but unfortunately this house was like away from civilization. This house was in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by like hills and mountains, but since the mom and daughter had nowhere else to go, they accepted the offer and decided to go live in this house. They end up going to the house, and when they get there, they notice the strangest thing ever. Right in front of the door is this big ass tree. Like the tree was so big that when they would try to open the front door, it would be hitting that tree. So the mom thought it was really strange that the tree would be like right in front of the front door. So the people who actually gave them a ride to that house noticed the tree as well, and they told the mom that if she wanted to, they can also help her remove that tree so that it doesn't stop the front door from opening. And she agreed, so they decided to do it then and there. When they removed that tree, on the roots of like where the tree was growing, they see like a skeleton of a baby. The mom says that it looked like maybe someone had buried the baby a very long time ago because the bones of the baby skeleton were just being eaten by the roots of that tree. She said that they didn't end up telling anybody about it. She just, you know, had the tree removed, they saw that, and they just like moved on with their lives. Time passes, and in this house, it's a 2-bedroom home. It's a little small, but it does have a hallway that leads to both of the rooms. Both the mom and the daughter start hearing noises in the hallway, and they realize that it sounds like a little baby. She even said it doesn't sound like an animal, it didn't sound like a kid, there was no like steps walking, it sounded like a baby playing in the hallway. So the mom almost felt guilty because she felt like something had happened there. I mean, they found the baby bones, and she just felt really bad that maybe the baby ghost was there. So she started leaving out baby toys in the hallway. I already have chills. So after leaving the toys in the hallway, the mom says that they would then start hearing this baby playing with those specific toys that were left out for it. She mentions that nothing scary would happen, but she did feel that over time, the baby's energy was growing and growing. So one day, the mom and daughter get into a really big fight. And I mean, they were screaming at each other, like they were going at it, and the daughter ends up going to her room and like slamming the door. And mom also goes to her room and slams the door. So when the mom goes into her room, slams the door, and sits alone, she realizes that maybe she was a little tough on her daughter. Mom felt so bad and so guilty that she's like, I'm gonna go to her room and I'm gonna, you know, apologize and let's try to talk through it. So the mom goes and she knocks on her daughter's door, and of course the daughter didn't answer because she was pissed. After the daughter not answering her door, the mom still decided to open the door, and she starts off with, look, I really need to talk to you. And then she stays silent. The daughter was laying on her bed and she was like, what? That's when the mom was like, get up and come with me. And the daughter's like, what? And the mom's like, get up and come with me. The daughter's like, I thought you wanted to talk to me. And she goes, shut up, get up and come with me. So once the daughter realizes that something is going on because the mom was really seriously telling her to get up, she gets up. Her mom grabs her by the hand, they leave her bedroom, close her bedroom door, and the mom takes her back to her own room. So the mom explains that when she opened her daughter's door and told her, I need to talk to you, she looks at her daughter that's laying on the bed, and she sees a baby on top of her daughter's chest. She says that the baby was not a normal baby. When the mom was telling her daughter, get up and come with me, that baby would hold on to her daughter even tighter, looking at the mom and smiling at her. my god, look at my arm. I think the reason why I imagine these stories in my head, so I'm seeing this shit like a movie in my brain. Can you imagine? She walked in there feeling so guilty that she got into a fight with her mom, tries to talk to her, and fucking sees a baby on her daughter's chest as she's telling her, get up and let's go. Baby hugs her daughter tighter while looking at her smiling. They left that house that night and never looked back, didn't go back to investigate, didn't want to know what the fuck happened there, because at that point it wasn't just a little innocent baby ghost, because she saw a baby, but it was not a normal looking baby. Now for my dream. So in my dream, I'm laying in bed. Leave it to me to take naps in my dream too. And next to me is one of my exes, because my dream wasn't scary enough. And in my dream, I'm waking up because I'm feeling something crawling up my body. And when this thing finally gets to the very top, I see a scary looking baby with fucking crazy teeth. And you know how like in your dreams you can't fight, it's like slow motion? Well, as soon as I saw that face, my hand was like trying to push it away. I mean, the baby was like biting my hand, and I was like, what do I do? Because I'm moving so slowly. I was pushing that baby towards my ex, who was still asleep, because what the fuck, take him, not me. But this baby wouldn't give up. It kept trying to come at me, and to the point where I'm slowly moving my fucking head away. It doesn't sound as scary, but like it was fucked up in my dream. Okay, so the baby's still crawling, and once it's like face to face to me, I guess I got so spooked that I woke myself up. All it had to do was go to my ex, like, why the fuck would you want me? But no, I got really scared. I woke up and I was like, what the fuck was I dreaming about right now? Anyway, I hope you don't have dreams about this story.
Hi, I'm Jenny, Milo's mom. I'm hijacking Milo's TikTok because we have a crazy ghost story. So very sadly, over the last 3 months, I've lost both my parents. They were in their 80s and married for over 63 years. My mom passed first in February, and she passed away on hospice at home, where she wanted to be when she passed away. About a month later, my dad gave up and succumbed to dementia, because I can only imagine he missed my mom very much. Both of my parents were buried in a church cemetery that is actually pretty much in their backyard where they lived for 60 years. And that was their wish, to be close to where they spent all of their time, and they built their home and beautiful gardens. So that's where they were set to rest in peace. Since they've passed, their home has been kind of locked up. My siblings will come and go for various reasons, but for the most part, nobody's living there. And we installed security cameras and ring cameras all around the house to ensure its security, although it's in a very quiet and peaceful neighborhood, kind of at a dead end. There's not a lot of people around, and the ones that are around are pretty old and not very active late at night. So the other night, I was laying in bed. I live on the West Coast, and my parents were living on the East Coast. Their house is on the East Coast. And one of the ring cameras that we installed was inside of the house, and it was installed in the kitchen. So I was pretty surprised when I got a ring alert saying that there's a person detected in the kitchen. It was around midnight, and like I said, nobody was in the house. So I was like, that's strange. So being on the West Coast, it was only 9 o'clock. So I was like, maybe I'll check it out and see what's happening. You know, maybe there's like, I don't know, a bug or a mouse or something. So I wanted to check it out and just be safe. So when I watched the video, I was like, okay, I don't see anything in the video. That's strange. Why would the camera go off saying a person was detected? So I looked very carefully at the video, and I got chills down my spine. If you watch the video, in the first maybe 5 to 7 seconds, you see a orb, kind of like a cloud, float from the right side of the screen all the way to the left. It was so eerie, and I'm not one to not believe in ghosts, but I've never had any reason to believe in a ghost, and I was pretty shocked when I saw this video. Thinking I was pretty crazy or I was seeing things, I shared it with a couple of friends, and they saw the same exact thing. Being that my mom passed away in the house, and her house was everything to her. All of her beautiful treasures are in her house. I can only imagine that it's her, but I want you to see it too, so I'm going to post it in the comments so you can see for yourself, but it's really crazy.
So whatever you do, never accept an antique doll as a gift. The person who submitted the story did, and now it lives in their house. No matter what she does, she cannot get rid of this doll. Doll always comes back. I am back with another spooky story. I'm gonna call the person who submitted the story Alina. So when Alina turned 26, her auntie gifted her an antique porcelain doll. Now Alina is no stranger to dolls, as she has collected some throughout the years. Now she says that this doll was delicate, dressed in faded lace. It had glassy blue eyes that seemed a little alive, but now Alina says that she has other realistic looking dolls, so the eyes on this doll really didn't spook her. She didn't think anything of it. Now Alina, being really excited about this doll, she decided to place it in a shelf in her bedroom. Another one to her collection, right? So she placed the doll among the other dolls that she had collected over the years. This is important. But she says from the moment that this doll arrived, her house felt different. Now, she said the same night she got the doll, she woke up to hearing tiny footsteps on her, hardwood floor. The floor is creaking, and Alina is like, what the heck is that sound? So she turned on the light to check to see what it was, and y'all, the doll was no longer on the shelf. She says when she looks around the room, now mind you, she just woke up, so she's still trying to fix her vision. She says that the doll was sitting on the dresser, and its head was tilted towards her. Now, Alina convinced herself that she must have had moved the doll and forgot. But things escalated rather quickly. The lights began flickering, even if she just changed the bulbs. She would also find claw marks on the wall, low to the ground, as if something had been crawling near the walls on the floor. And she says at night, she would just hear all these whispers, like the house was active. Now, Alina, she lived by herself. Now, Alina says that worst of all were her dreams. Every night, she dreams of a little girl trapped inside the doll, begging to be freed. And her face would be all twisted up. And this little girl would reach out to Alina in her dream. And every time Alina would try to reach back, the little girl would disappear. Now, at this point, Alina says she knows something is up because the doll kept moving. She would wake up and the doll would be in the bathroom, knowing damn well she would have never put that doll in the bathroom. She says one day she found the doll in her kitchen table, seated next to a knife. And then Alina says that actually wasn't even all of it, because she started having thoughts that weren't her own. Dark thoughts were invading her mind. She would stare at her reflection, whispering things that she didn't mean. She started to resent people around her. She became extremely angry. She says for the first time in her life, she didn't feel at peace with where she lived. It felt like the house was alive. So now Alina goes back to her aunt, letting her know that she's been having issues ever since she got the doll. And y'all, she says that her aunt admitted to her that the doll came from a family tragedy. The previous owner's daughter had passed away mysteriously. Her belongings were sold off. But it's just a doll, her aunt told her. At this point, Alina's like, bitch, I don't know about that. One night, I guess she couldn't take it anymore, so she decided to get rid of the doll by just throwing it away. A regular old-fashioned way. Put it in the garbage outside. Well, at 3 a.m., she woke up to sounds like something was being dragged inside of her house. When she opened her eyes, the doll was sitting on her chest, staring directly at her. So Alina tried to burn this doll. She even tried burying this doll. But every single time, the doll always came back. So she says she spoke to somebody who is a haunted doll whisperer. What the fuck? But the whisperer told her that it feeds on attention, and the more she's afraid of the doll, the stronger the doll will become. And pretty much told her that the only way to survive this doll is to ignore it completely. Now, Alina says she did go home and try to ignore the doll, but that was really hard. Knowing she could never get rid of it, she decided to lock it up in a box, a secure box. She put salt on the outside of the box and locked up the doll in her attic. She says ever since the doll has been up in the attic, things have been a little bit better, outside of the fact that she would randomly hear things knocking over up there, or footsteps just walking around. However, she knows that the doll has no way of getting out. And this is how Alina winded up stuck with a haunted doll that she will never get rid of. She says every once in a while she still has dreams of a child coming to her asking her to free her. That was today's spooky story while I did my hair. If you have a spooky story that you want me to tell, feel free to submit it to me. Products that I use in this video are by Camille Rose. As a 4C girly, she moisturizes my hair and I have no issues. Follow me for more spooky and, well, hair content.
I was at a friend's house. I was about 4 to 5 months pregnant with Lucci. This is after Mike died. And I was sitting on her couch and I wanted to kick my feet up. I was super tired, exhausted. We were just chilling in her living room, talking shit, having a good old time, when all of a sudden I heard, "Get your feet off the couch." And I looked at my friend like, huh? She was like, "What are you talking about? What happened?" And I said, "Oh, okay, you didn't say nothing to me?" She said, "No." She was in the kitchen. The living room was tiny and you could see the TV, and the kitchen's like literally right there. Her house was pretty big, but it was like set up where the kitchen and the living room were very close together. So I'm watching the TV, I'm still talking to her, blah, 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 and I hear, "Get your feet off the couch." And I was like, what the fuck? But the thing is, it didn't even sound like her. It sounded like a muffled sound. So I was thinking maybe it's somebody in another room. Now, mind you, when you're pregnant and you have a gift, it like expands even more. It's kind of like if you've ever seen Charmed, when that one girl was pregnant and the baby was doing weird stuff to her and then she was getting abilities and it was just like more heightened. That's what happens when you're pregnant and you have these gifts. And so I turned to her and I said, "Are you sure you're not saying nothing about me, my feet on the couch?" She's like, "No." So I ignored it. I sat there again. I put my one foot off the couch, right? And my other one was on the couch. This is really hysterical. When I see an older man, right, with a striped shirt, like a polo, and he's standing there like, "Get your feet off my couch." And I was startled and I put my foot down and I go, "Is your grandfather passed away, or your dad, or somebody's dad has passed away?" And she was like, "Wait, what does he look like?" And I said, "Oh, he's short, chunky. I don't know, because he feels like he's Cuban." Her husband's father had passed away and she considered him like a dad because he was always around. And I said, "Well, this man is telling me to get my feet off the couch and I'm tired and I'm just checking with you." She's like, "You're lying, you're lying." I said, "This is exactly what he looks like." And I pictured him and I said all of these things. And she grabs a photo of him and I go, "Yeah, that's the guy. He's telling me to get my feet off the couch." And she was hysterically laughing. Her kids were laughing. And she was like, "Yeah, my dad hated the feet on the couch." So don't put your feet on the couch when a spirit is around that normally don't like that shit.
There are so many different stories that I'd love to tell you guys, but this one is probably one of the most scariest. So I don't live with them now. About 6 years ago, my son and I, we moved back in to my parents' home. This was the home that I grew up in as a child, and it was built in the 1920s. No one ever passed away on the property, in the house, whatever. Nothing crazy ever happened. It's just an older house in really nice area in the suburbs. Yeah, there's not much history about it, really. Growing up, my mom and I always had just like either weird dreams, or we thought that we would see something and sorry, my cat. We thought that we would see something and it just wasn't there, both separately and together as well. So when I moved back in, I moved into the attic, which was actually converted into a bedroom. It was just a long, narrow room. It's pretty large, but it was narrow and just long. And then at the end of the attic, there's a big closet. It could be like a walk-in closet type of situation, but it doesn't have a door. Yeah, my dad would just put a cloth or, you know, like fabric over it because we just stored a whole bunch of crap back there. One of the reasons why I hated the attic growing up is because it just was kind of dark up there. And also that area, the closet area, was just really weird. Like it would always give me a weird vibe. I've only been into that area a handful of times. So this is important to know. Like the way that you would get into the attic is, so you have like the front door, Right at the front door, there's steps going up. So you go up the steps. To the left is a bedroom. I believe at the time it was my sister's room. And then to the right, sorry, left and rights, to the right would be the attic. Now, to get up there, you would have to climb up like 3 really short steps and then kind of like crawl in there or hold on to the sides and step in there. It wasn't a full length door. Yeah, it was just really, it was a weird setup, but the door was small and there was always a draft. And so my dad would he put like a latch hook sort of situation at the top. And then on the bottom, he put a deadbolt. So whoever, you know, if one of the kids, we all took turns having the attic as our room at one point. And so in order to keep it closed and stop the draft from coming in, he put a deadbolt on the door. So it's on the bottom of the door and he drilled a hole into the floor and you would just secure it pretty much into the floor. So now that that's all out of the way, one night I was sleeping, everyone in the house was sleeping. My dad was at work. And my mom calls me around 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, what the heck? She's right down the hall. Why is she calling me? I pick it up and she says, hey, is Jeremiah down here? Jeremiah's my son. He was sleeping right next to me. I look over and he was right next to me. And she says, and I said, no, he's right here. Why? And she said, because it looks like that there's a kid in the hallway, like in my doorway. And I said hi, but they're still standing there. Are you sure Jeremiah's in the room with you? So I'm like, yes, he is here with me. You know, I asked, was it one of my siblings? And she said, no, they were way too short to be, you know, my other siblings who were they're just a few years younger than me. So they're much taller than what she was describing. So after she confirmed that it was none of my siblings and my son was right there, we were both just pretty freaked out. I didn't go downstairs to check on my mom. I was just like, close your door. I don't know, maybe call dad and see if he can come home from work. But my door was locked, secured. I was like, nothing, don't come up here. So as soon as we say goodnight, she's like, good night. I'm like, good night, love you. See ya in a few hours because it was already morning. Right as soon as that happened, my door, the door that is bolted, just swung open and hit the wall behind it. And so it's just like if you just take a door, swing it open and it hits the wall behind it. It hit the wall so hard. Of course, it caught me off guard, so I just jumped up. And I did run over to the door because I was thinking, okay, maybe my mom ran up here and I don't know, she was the Hulk and just pulled on the door really hard. But no, there was no one behind the door at all. No one. Everyone was still sleeping. My mom, she was still awake because we just got off the phone. She heard and she called me back and I was like, Mom, the door just swung open. And she was like, what do you mean the door swung open?
Next in hand, the vibe is set. And once I start, don't eat too much because you got to stay fine. But come on, bestie, it's story time. It's story time. Hi, my besties and my lovelies. First of all, don't forget to let me know what kind of snack we're having for story time. Second of all, I have a special treat for you guys. Some of y'all, the ones that's really locked in with me, y'all know I made a Christmas song and I'm gonna drop it on Thanksgiving. Lots of people were asking me to drop it last year, but I didn't get to. But this year, I got y'all. So if you want to hear that song, go to the next video. Be sure to leave a comment, a like, repost it, do all that good stuff. I'll make you guys a deal. If y'all can make that song blow up, I will give y'all 3 story times a day. I'm dead ass. I don't have the time, but I'll find it. I'll give y'all 3 story times a day. But only if y'all blow the song up, okay? Deal? Deal? Alright. So, for the sake of the story, let's call her Delilah. Now, Delilah couldn't have children. That was something she really, really wanted. And a lot of people in Delilah's neighborhood would always whisper and like gossip and say that she went to this Baka named Pierre. Baka is like a voodoo priest. Now, it is said that she would go to Baka Pierre all the time to open her wombs to help her have children. Now, some time went by. About like months later, one day, she popped out with a belly. She was smiling. She was happy, the happiest she has ever been. Funny enough, she had went on a trip with her husband and she was gone for a while. And then when she came back was when she came back with her belly, like she was preggers. As days go by, people are congratulating her. Some people even like invited her over for dinner. People started to notice that she came back from the trip pregnant, but she didn't come back with her husband. And time was going by and everybody expected the husband to come home any day now, but nobody is seeing the husband. It was to the point where she went through the entire pregnancy, no husband in sight. Now, the day came where she gave birth. The midwife that helped her give birth in the house, she was like the town midwife. When people were asking her about how did the delivery go and all of that, she refused to speak. Every time somebody brings that up, you can see the look, just a look on her face. And she only said to one person that child is not a child of God. The midwife said that when that child was born, that child did not cry. Instead, it laughed. And even the laugh was uneasy. It wasn't just like a newborn laugh where it makes your heart happy. The laugh made your skin crawl. Now, you know, Delilah gave birth. As days go by, people in the village started to hear like strange noises at night. And not just at night, specifically at one of her mango trees. Like at nighttime, if you walk past it, you will hear scratching noises at the mango tree. When people are walking their dogs, for some reason, they refuse to go by that specific mango tree. And the other thing that's even more strange is that whenever mangoes will fall from that tree, it would be split open with no pit inside. All of the mangoes were missing the pit that's on the inside. It was like it was hollow. Anyway, so one night, one of Delilah's neighbors she was getting ready for bed and she heard this strange noise because her house was right by the mango tree. And at that point, hearing the scratching every night was like regular, but this time it wasn't the scratching that, you know, they were hearing. It was the sound of Delilah crying. Now, she knows better. She know not to go out there and find out what it is, but she did decide to look out her window. And when she looked at the window, she saw Delilah kneeling in front of the tree, crying, tears running down her eyes, but her muumuu, like the nightgown that she was wearing, was drenched in blood. And as she knelt there, she's holding a baby and she's feeding her baby. And when she looked a little closer, she realized, that's not a damn baby. What the fuck is that? It was like a baby, but a creature at the same time, and its eyes were red. Now, at that point, when the neighbor saw that, if you know, you know. You mind your goddamn business. You don't try to find out what it is. You don't ask no questions. She closed her gates and she took her butt to bed. Now, the next morning, she was curious, though. You know, she was waiting for Delilah to come out the house like she usually does, except she didn't come out all day. And then a few days passed. Nobody saw Delilah. And the neighbor started spreading the word, and a lot of the neighbors went to that house to go look for Delilah, and she just disappeared. Her and the baby. Their stuff were left behind and everything. The nursery, the crib, everything was left behind. But Delilah and the baby just disappeared. But mind you, the husband was gone way before that. Till this day, nobody knows what happened to Delilah and that baby or her husband. Until this day, that tree cannot be taken down. You also can't go near it either because a series of people that tried to eat from that tree even like passed away. So everybody knows that that specific tree, that was Delilah's tree, is not to be even near. So yeah, that's the story, y'all. Don't forget to go get your cleansed and covered book in my bio to protect yourself from these kinds of things. Just because you're not Haitian or you don't know anything about this doesn't mean you can't protect yourself from things that you can't see. So click that link in my bio, get your ebook. If you don't believe me, look at the people that bought them. It literally changed their lives. Also, the deal. If y'all blow the song up, I got y'all.
I hate that I've tried to record this a few times and I keep having a technical difficulty. Gotta love it. So when I was in my very early 20s, I was engaged. I moved to Virginia with my ex-fiance and it didn't work out. It was a really rough experience and I had to get home right away. So I'm going home. I don't know where I'm going to be staying. My dad no longer lives in San Diego where I'm from. So I'm like, shoot, where am I going to go? My grandmother calls me and she tells me that my mom's house is currently vacant. My mom has extreme manic depressive bipolar and she's just generally a very selfish individual. So she and I do not communicate. But my grandmother shares with me that she is removed from her home currently and she has no idea what state the home is in, but it is habitable for me. So I can live there while I figure out a roommate situation where I'm going to live. So I reluctantly say, okay, this is what I have to do. So I get to the house. It is not in a very good neighborhood. It's a townhome, but I have it to myself. And I'm a little sketched out more of the neighborhood than anything else, but whatever. This is where I'm going to live because this is where I have to. So I open the front door for the very first time, get the key and open it. And this wave of like intense heaviness washes over me. And I am just overwhelmed with the state of the home. Like right when you walk in, there's the living room and the stairs. And, I just look to the left in the living room and it's in shambles. You can tell like the couch has a dent in it. She's been laying in it for so long. And I'm just like, ugh, I don't want to be here. And I feel this like intense heaviness. And I don't take that as a red flag right away. I just think, oh, it feels heavy because it's my mom's house and I don't want to be here. And I've just gone through this traumatic event in my life and whatever, will make the best of it. So looking around the house, I can see that the kitchen is disgusting. Like there's rotted food, like in the fridge, on the counter, in the sink. It's disgusting. I go upstairs and her room is dark and icky and I don't want to be in there. So I just pass it. So up the stairs, there's her room at the top of the bathroom and then the guest room. So I'm like, whatever, I will start with the guest room and make it my own, clean it, take care of it. Because my mom's manic bipolar, she collects. So the guest room took a very long time, putting things away, reorganizing furniture, cleaning, throwing away trash. I am finally starting to make some headway on the guest room and feeling pretty good about it. So one night I'm sleeping and I wake up, I'm on my side and I wake up and I see the alarm clock and it's the magic hour, it's 3 a.m. So I'm like, great. And as that's processing, I realize I can feel something at the side of the bed, demanding, like standing there, almost like you can't hear or feel breathing, but there's like this intensity. And I'm like, oh, I know what this is. I know exactly what this is. And if you know about these things, if you hear something, no, you didn't. If you see something, no, you don't. Keep moving. So I'm like, whatever. And I go to bed. When I wake up in the morning, I realize, okay, this is what we're dealing with. So I don't know exactly what I'm dealing with, but I just choose to ignore it. So I finish cleaning up the room and I start making my way towards cleaning the living room and the main level. So as I'm going up and down the stairs, clean the main level, and the house is getting lighter, it's feeling airier, it's feeling healthier, like the vibe is feeling healthier, I start to smell this nasty, rotting smell at the top of the stairs. When you go up the stairs, you see her room right away, and every single time, just this intense, nasty smell. And I'm like, oh God, I know what this is, but I just have to ignore it. So I keep cleaning, keep making the space feel better, all the while basically cohabiting with this being that desperately wants my attention. And I know it wants my attention. The best way I can describe whatever this was is that it was not human, also a red flag. This was not a spirit. This was a thing. It felt young. It felt curious about me. It almost felt like I got this vibe, like, where's the other one at? Like my mom, like, where's the other one at? Like it wanted her negative energy and her like rotting that she would do. And I didn't give that. I was providing positivity and brightness and openness to this new space. And it was not happy with me for that. As I was cleaning the home, I would generally avoid my mother's room. One, because I don't have a relationship with her, so I didn't really care to be in her room or clean it. That's her business. But also just the darkness in there. And like, I swear sometimes that door was open and I would close it. Sometimes I would go to the top of the stairs, smell the smell, see the darkness in her room and just be like, why is that door even open? And for some reason that room like called to me. like called to me, and I went in a couple times and like went through her things, which is so not like me. I have no interest in going through her things, but I remember going in there, and I don't remember much of what happened while I was in there. I remember going through like old pictures of me and my sister from when we were kids. I remember going through her closet, but that's about it. And the whole time I would be in there, I would just feel like warbly and off, like very out of body experience. There's a filter kind of like this. Like these are kind of like my memories of being in that room, like going through pictures, going through the closet. I don't really remember much. So I'm really starting to make progress on the cleaning. I've accepted that I'm cohabitating with this little creature, whatever it is. So I'm minding my business, and I don't hang out in places that it likes, primarily my mom's room and the living room where she would rot for days and weeks. I just mostly hung out in the guest room when I wasn't cleaning or working or trying to find a place, and I would watch TV on my laptop. So finally, D-Day comes. It's time to get to the kitchen. I'm going in and out of the kitchen from the guest room. I avoided that living room. Guest room, down the stairs, through the hallway, kitchen. And I'm watching TV on my laptop, holding it, walking through the hallway. And lately, I feel like the being had kind of just accepted I wasn't going to give it attention, but I was still ever present that it was there. And I knew I wouldn't hang out with it in the living room. So I'm walking into the kitchen, holding my laptop, living room behind me, kitchen in front of me. And my laptop just dies. Just the black mirror just dies. And I know it's charged. I know I charged it. So I'm like, what the heck? And something comes over me. I realize, do not look at that computer and do not turn around. Like deep in my soul, like do not. This thing wants your attention. It wants either to show you it in that black mirror or to get you to turn around to go back into that room. You're going to see something if you look in this laptop screen or turn around. So I just shut the laptop, walk into the kitchen, keep cleaning. Like I didn't even notice the laptop had died. After a few minutes, I go, oh, my laptop died. Like audibly say it. Like I pretend I didn't notice, and go get the charger, bring the charger back down into the kitchen and keep cleaning. After the home was pretty much cleaned, within a few days, I ended up finding a roommate and finding a place. So I moved out, left that behind, never experienced that little creature or critter ever again. Thank goodness. But yeah, that was a really intense, it was like a battle of wills. This thing was almost like a child, but it wasn't a human, but it felt like a childlike presence. And it was just, look at me, demanding my attention. And I wouldn't give it any attention. So we just were kind of fighting over who was going to get their way. And I just ignored it until it went away or I was able to leave. I don't speak to my mom much. I never told her about this experience, but from what I understand in the times I do have to interact with her, she has gotten a new place. And this is kind of what confirms for me that this was not a ghost, because ghosts haunt places, other things haunt people. And my mom has said, or I have heard, that in her new place, she has suddenly stopped liking to stay in her guest room or her master bedroom, and she sleeps in the guest room because something in the master doesn't feel right, and it feels like she's not alone in her master bedroom. And yeah, it's kind of crazy. I realize that sounds like a script or like a baseline for a really messed up movie, and it could have gone a lot worse than it did. Thank God it didn't. But no, that's a true story. And as far as I know, that thing still hangs out with my mom and her negative energy to this day.
Okay, here we go. In May 2004, my coworker had dropped me off in the Pioneer Square area of Seattle after work, and I was planning on taking the bus home from there, but I had no change for the bus. So I'm like, I need to find an ATM and then break that money so I can get on the bus. And I was right there at the J&M cafe and card room, but going forward, we're calling it the J&M Saloon. And I went in there and they had an ATM, and I figured, what the hell? I'm going to get a coffee, or I'm going to get a beer and read my book and just wait for this rush hour traffic to die down, and then I'll catch the bus home. And this is a pretty empty place. Not a whole lot of people in there at the time, but it's a large place, very large bar. I'm sitting towards the end. I'll see if I can stitch in some photos of the place later here. I'm sitting at the end reading my book, and this woman comes into the bar, and she's carrying like a whole bunch of bags, like a lot of duffel bags. okay, whatever. Happens. It didn't faze me until she set the bags right down next to me and asked me if I could watch them while she goes to use the restroom. Okay, but I thought I detected a little bit of an accent in there. I'm from South Dakota, and every once in a while my accent comes out, my little Midwestern accent. So I was going to ask her when she came back. I'm like, you don't happen to be from the Midwest, She comes back and she sits down right next to me. She is probably in her 50s, roughly, I would guess. Blonde hair, a lot of curls. She's wearing what I can best describe as clothes from the 80s. It, is the best way to describe it. Even one of the duffel bags was round, like a exercise. Like it struck me as very 80s, for lack of a better word. She struck me very 80s. And she orders, I guess, White Russian drink or something. And we kind of start to, I ask her, I'm like, you don't happen to be from the Midwest, are you? She's like, no, I'm from the Yukon. I'm like, wow, a little flabbergasted. Never met anybody from the Yukon before, but I'm a history buff. And I was like, that's pretty fascinating, because this bar here, built in the 1880s, was one of a go-to location for people during the gold rush in the 1890s before they went to the Yukon. How about that? We were chatting. She's very friendly. She orders another drink. Mind you, we're both paying cash. This is important later. We're both paying cash for our drinks, and I order another Miller Lite. She orders another White Russian drink, and she starts to get really weepy, a little weird. She tells me that she is a phone operator in the Yukon, and I was like, it's the Yukon. Sorry, Yukon. I was like, it's the Yukon. Maybe they have phone operators still there. I don't know, But that her husband just died, and she's like doing her wish of traveling. And she gets really sad. She gets really sad about her husband having passed. And then she turns to me and she's like, you've been so sweet. You're the first person I've talked to since I arrived in Seattle. And by the look of her bags, she had just arrived. She hadn't even gone to her hotel yet, I guess. She just gets kind of emotional. She appears very drunk, very, very, very quickly. And the bartender comes to us and said, sorry, you have to go to my new friend, Barbara from the Yukon. And me being me, I said, you're a guest in my city. I'm going to make sure that I flag a cab for you so you can get back to your hotel. I'll walk out with you. And she gets down off the stool. She carries her bags. And I'm behind her because I'm a little bit concerned. This is just over a period of like an hour and a half, 2 hours tops. She starts heading towards the doorway, carrying her bags, which are heavy, and I don't want her to topple over. Everything was weird. And then as soon as she hit that doorway, she disappeared. She was gone in a second, right in front of my face. She was gone. And I'm like looking around. I look down. I'm like, did she fall? And I look in the street, like she's gone. And there was a doorman out front. And I asked him, like, where did that woman go? That was just right here, like right here. Where did she go? And he's like, what woman? I'm like, the one I've just been talking to for the last 2 hours. She was like right in front of me. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see any woman. I remember turning around, because I'm right at the door frame. I turn around, and this sparsely populated, huge bar, you know how the tunnel thing in movies where it just like elongates and it just does that visual thing. I thought I was going to faint. My heart was racing. I felt like everybody was staring at me. I was scared out of my mind. And so I grabbed my bag, my book bag, and I just got out of there. I got out of there so fast. And I flagged down a cab. I'm like, screw the bus. I need to get home right now. And I flagged down a cab, and I am so visibly shaken. I'm so visibly distraught that the cab driver is like, are you okay? I'm like, nope, I'm not okay. I just spent 2 hours talking to a woman that disappeared in front of my face. And the cab driver very calmly said, yeah. That happens around here. Fast forward several years later. My boyfriend at the time, we decided to go to Port Townsend, Washington for my birthday. And we were staying at Manresa Castle. Another haunted, famously kind of haunted location, though I'm not entirely sure how much they want that, but it just is. I have other stories about that. So we go wandering around down on the front street of Port Townsend, go into a bar, grab drinks and some dinner, and we start talking to a group of people that are also visiting from Seattle, just staying in Port Townsend for the weekend. And they were pretty fascinated that we were staying at Manresa Castle, and ghost stories start flying. They want to know why I'm there. And I'm like, cool, I want to check it out because it's spooky. And somehow, I don't know if it was my boyfriend that prompted or if I just decided to share this experience that I was convinced at that point that I had absolutely had temporary insanity. I just accepted it. But for whatever reason, I decided to share this story. I'm like, maybe it's a ghost story. So I share the story of Barbara, how she disappeared in front of me, her bags and from the Yukon. And one man at the table of one of our new friends that we met, his face went white when I told this story. He paled. And he's like, my wife used to work there as a bartender. They call her the bag lady. The bag lady. He said that she does that all the time. As like a ghost. She does it all the time. She targets somebody in the bar, sits and chats with them, makes friends with them, tells them that they're the nicest people and first person that they're meeting. And then as soon as they hit the doorway, she disappears. I get upset still thinking about it. I have so many questions. I have all the same questions that you have. Even from 2004, they're still there. Did everybody look at me and see that I was talking to nobody? Did I just spend 2 hours like, hello, like doing some sort of Fight Club thing? Or did everybody else actually see her and they just recognize her and they know who she is? And that she just disappears in front of you? I don't know. Sadly, the J&M Saloon is now closed. It's been closed. I have no idea when it's open, but it's Pioneer Square in Seattle. Oh, it's just haunted. It's just.
Snacks in hand, the vibe is set, and once I start, you won't forget. Don't eat too much, because you gotta stay fine, but come on, bestie, it's story time. I liked the intro last time, so I think I'm gonna start using that. Anyways, we have a problem. I'm shadow banned so bad. Like, it's not even funny. And I don't do nothing. So when y'all see this, make sure you share it, you repost it, you like, whatever it is that gets me out of the shadow banning phase. Because, like, I can't reach y'all. We used to be like this. And TikTok is separating us. I don't like that. No, but like, seriously, what is happening? Anyways, on to the story time. Now, I've made story times about the Hat Man before, so I guess this is another episode of somebody that met the Hat Man. If you don't know about the Hat Man, I made a video. If you want me to do a new one, I'll make a new one. But a lot of people have claimed to see the Hat Man. Even my godfather, I actually have that story posted too. My own godfather had an encounter with the Hat Man. For the sake of the story, let's call this guy Joshua. So Joshua is about 5 or 6 years old at the time, and he had a friend in school. Let's call him Reggie. Really good friends. They play together all the time, so ultimately they end up having a play date. And so the play date turns into other play dates, and the other play dates into a sleepover. Was that even a full sentence? I'm not redoing it. Anyway, it comes the night where they have the sleepover. Obviously, the parents communicated everything is good. They're good to go. Parents, they like each other. So Joshua gets dropped off at Reggie's house. And they're having a good time. They're playing, all of that. Everything goes well. And then it's bedtime, and they get ready to go to bed. They had bunk beds. And so Joshua decided that he wanted to sleep at the bottom because, it's Reggie's bunk bed. But then Reggie's like, no, actually, I don't mind. Like, you're my guest. You can sleep at the top if you want to. He was being a really good friend. So boom, that's what happens. Joshua goes and he sleeps at the top of the bunk bed. Great! They go to sleep. Joshua wakes up at exactly 3 a.m. because Reggie had like a Toy Story alarm clock. And that's how he knew. It was 3 a.m. exactly when he woke up, because he happened to look down and he's looking at Reggie's little like work, table where the clock is, and it says 3 o'clock. And so he looks over there and he sees 3 o'clock. He's like, weird. Let me try to go back to sleep. And as he's turning his eyes to flip himself over to go to sleep, he sees a man. He sees a man in a hat standing over Reggie on the other side of the bunk bed. And so immediately he was frozen in fear. He wanted to scream, he wanted to make noises, but he could not. And so he's genuinely terrified. And this man looking thing, and he couldn't even really see a face. It's just a man in all black with a hat standing over Reggie. And just when he thought it couldn't get any scarier, the man turns his face right to look at Joshua directly. Except Joshua still couldn't see a face, but he can tell that the head was moving. At that point, he immediately goes like this on the bed to pretend like he didn't see anything. And that's where he fucked up, because the moment he did that, he feels like something pinned him down. He couldn't speak, he couldn't move, his body was pinned. He's laying there, tears coming out his face. So he does the one thing that he knows how to do. He starts praying. He starts doing a little prayer in his head, because at that point he's freaking out. He don't know what's happening. He prays for a few and he finally is able to move again. So he sits up, he looks down, man is gone. And all of this is happening so fast. So he looks down, realizes the man is gone. And at the moment he realizes the man is gone, Reggie jumps out of his sleep, screaming, crying. Parents run in the room thinking they were probably playing around or something like that and he got hurt. But no, Reggie looks genuinely terrified. And when his parents ask him, what's wrong? Did you have a nightmare? Reggie says, yes, I had a dream that there was a man in a hat choking me and I couldn't breathe. Once Joshua heard that, Joshua told them about what he saw. And the parents immediately gave this look to each other. They took the kids to the living room. Parents called Joshua's parents to come pick him up, and they came, they picked him up. And it's safe to say, after that, they didn't go back to Reggie's house. But that was Joshua's experience with the Hat Man. He still saw Reggie in school. They still played, they still spoke, but it was never really the same again. So yeah, that's the story. I hope y'all get to see this story actually, because I posted something and it's not, I don't know. Anyways, make sure you click the link in my bio to get your cleansed and covered book if you want to know how to cover yourself from, them things. Anyways, I love you guys. I'll see you guys next time. Also, can y'all please interact with my other content? Please?
Shout out to all of those TikTok videos that talk about if you're walking in the woods in Appalachia and you hear something or you see something, no you didn't, because I think that just saved my life last night. Story time. Excuse the garage. I'm at my parents' place, and this is the only place my dog is allowed, who plays a crucial role in this story, by the way. He's a very, very good boy, and last night proved it. So, my parents don't live in Appalachia, but they do live in an area that's a little more secluded. It's still a suburb, but it's pressed up against these hills with lots of untouched wilderness, and coyotes are running through there all the time. It's just a little bit more rural. So I'm sitting in their backyard, which has this tall fence all the way around it, and the wilderness comes right up to that fence. I'm sitting there around the campfire. My dog is laying beside me. I got my laptop open and I'm writing my little stories. Suddenly, my dog lifts his head, stares straight ahead at the fire, doesn't even look around at the yard, stares straight ahead at the fire and starts to growl. All dog owners know that your dog has different types of barks and growls. This was his warning growl. This is the growl he does when there is danger coming and he's telling it to back away. So immediately I'm like, buddy, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And then I hear a voice at the fence line. And it's not just any voice. It's the voice of a little girl. And it sounds like a creepy doll from a horror movie. It's got that kind of mechanical quality to it. And it's kind of muffled and garbled. I'm still getting the heebie-jeebies. And all it does is go, hello? Just like that. Just like that. Hi, just same tone and everything. Now, mind you, it's midnight. There are not going to be any little girls wandering the woods at midnight. So immediately, I was like, well, this is either someone who's gonna me, or it's something else. And what made me think it was something else was the fact that the voice said again, "Hello?" Only this time it had moved, and it had gotten closer, and I'd heard no footsteps. It was just floating closer. And then, mind you, my dog is still growling this entire time. For the next 5 minutes, that voice is just circling the fence line, going, "Hello? Hi? Hello? Hey?" Like, just like that creepy doll voice floating around the fence line. And then suddenly my dog stopped growling, and he put his head down and he went back to sleep, and the voice stopped. I thought, okay, cool, that was weird. And then all of a sudden he lifted his head back up again and started growling. And then the sound of a ticking clock came from the bush directly across from me. Again, heard no footsteps, heard no rustling. Just a ticking clock started in the middle of the night, in the middle of the woods. So don't know what that was. But if anyone wants to hop in the comments and let me know, that'd be great. Because I can't wait to go home today. And I don't see myself coming back here anytime soon.
And a big shout out to my protector. Yes, big scary boy.